Hey folks. I want to make a really novel and interesting point that will be so insanely refreshing that you could literally drink what I'm about to tell you from a bottle, or a carton, or perhaps even a hose. Sports games used to be good, but now they are bad. And I'll let you in on a little secret. I'm being facetious. We all knew this. Sports games suck, and they also blow. But it's not enough to just know this. We have to figure out why. Just as a disclaimer, I don't really play any of the NHL games or FIFA, so I'm not really going to go into depth on those sports. I'm going to hit football, basketball, and baseball. Good red-blooded American games. No offense to those other sports, I just don't feel equipped to record myself crying about why they've probably gone downhill as well. We're probably going to talk most about Madden because they're the worst offender of all, and the higher-ups at EA should be charged with war crimes. The first and most obvious point that I'd like to belabor is the lack of competition in the marketplace. And yes, I know what I'm talking about. I passed Econ 100 my freshman year of college over 8 years ago. I also pretended to read the Communist Manifesto my sophomore year, so I understand the nuances of the free market as well as, the means of reproduction and all that shit. Whatever, who cares? Here's the main gist of why Madden sucks and has generally sucked for the last decade and a half. EA Sports was extremely threatened when 2K made a better game and released it for a fraction of the price. The NFL didn't really like it that their brand was being marketed at a discounted price either, and on top of that, they wanted one brand to represent the NFL so they could keep a closer, better eye on how that brand was being virtually portrayed. It's hard to tell 6 different companies to take the word concussion out of their game, but it's easy to tell just one.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
So the NFL and EA Sports agreed to an exclusive deal, making Madden the only licensed NFL simulation, meaning 2K5 was the last NFL licensed game that 2K has produced. There was news about 3 years ago that 2K had agreed to a deal with the NFL to make a non-simulation video game, but since then we've gotten almost zero news on that project. We've literally gotten more news about Tupac's murderer since then. Here's another smart point that I'm about to make. Madden has gone steeply downhill for the last decade especially, and I don't think it's any coincidence that its sharp decline has coincided with the absence of the NCAA football video game. Essentially what I'm saying is that not only has EA not competed against 2K, they're not even competing against themselves in the football category anymore, and I think Madden has suffered for it. But with the revival of EA college football, then maybe, just maybe, we'll see the fire lit under the collective asses of the Madden football overlords once again. There are still football games out there, but it's really hard to gain traction without a league-affiliated license. I hate to put down independent studios, but there just hasn't been a worthy competitor to the Madden throne since All-Pro Football 2K8. And by the way, the gameplay on 2K8 blows Madden out of the water, but it didn't sell nearly well enough, and they also missed a lot of opportunities in that game like not having a franchise or dynasty mode. That's kind of a big one, folks. Madden is bad. And still there hasn't been a game to come along and challenge it. Maybe that speaks to how hard it is to make a football game compared to other sports, but that's a frustrating admission given that 2K pretty nearly nailed the formula almost 2 decades ago. The other sports don't have similar exclusive licenses with video game companies, but there's no true competitor to NBA 2K following the demise of NBA Live, and there's no real challenger to MLB The Show after MLB 2K packed it up. Unless you want to count Super Mega Baseball, which I do. I've spent really an ungodly amount of hours on that game. 2K actually did take their revenge against EA Sports, signing a third-party deal that killed MVP Baseball, but it still left Sony free to do their thing. And to be honest, that hurts everybody. Except the people at EA, 2K, and Sony who get to reap the rewards of their dominance, whether it was achieved via signing on a dotted line or by simply beating their opponents into submission. Even 2K and Sony, who got to the top based on their own merit, mostly, would probably benefit from a scrappy underdog coming for their crown. Over the last few years, it feels like their games have plateaued and maybe even regressed, and that leaves the door open for someone to come in and steal a piece of the pie. Competition drives innovation. It creates an honest product and a better product at a fair market rate. Without it, there's no incentive to work harder or smarter or be more transparent, and I think that's the underlying cause of what ails these games. In the Titanic level disaster that is sports gaming, the women and children are online play, and the men who are condemned to Davy Jones' locker obviously represent franchise mode. Franchise mode has been especially neglected by Madden while they pour all their time and resources into Ultimate Team and card packs and all that other shit that has resulted in the worst thumbnails known to man. Franchise mode or Dynasty mode or My GM or whatever you'd like to call it should be the flagship mode for any sports game. I mean, come on, who doesn't want to pretend they're a hot piece of ass like Billy Bean and trade your backup quarterback for 3 first-round picks and call it a rebuild? While 2K has gotten more sophisticated and imaginative with its franchise modes, giving you complete control and the option to bend time and space itself, Madden has let its franchise mode really wither away into next to nothing. Every year, Madden talks about how they're going to restore franchise mode to its original glory, and like clockwork, they add one feature from 15 years ago and call it a day. There was once a time when you could scout draft prospects by actually playing with them on the field, but that was obviously way too much fun, so instead you just clicked a bunch of buttons and slowly scouted every player in the draft one by one, which was still somehow better than the current scouting system. You can't even create custom teams anymore or make your own uniforms, because I guess the NFL decided that was harmful to the almighty shield. Those bastards took away every 12-year-old's rite of passage to manhood, which was to make a team called the Cleveland Steamers. And now, no wonder the youth in this country is broken beyond repair. Again, that's why I think a game like Super Mega Baseball is so refreshing. You can customize so much from the players to the uniforms to the logos. The lack of a pro license isn't so much a curse for that game as it is a weight off their shoulders. They give the players control, they let you be a little silly with it, and they support that with deep customization options. Large-scale customization has been replaced with buying skins and Ultimate Team doohickeys and all that obnoxious stuff. But guess what? I don't need a SpongeBob baseball bat or whatever. I just want to move my team to Guantanamo Bay. Is that so much to ask for? You can't even play with old teams like you used to in Madden. 2K nailed that, but of course Madden removed that feature. Imagine the equivalent of the Jordan Challenge in Madden, but it's the Elway Challenge and you have to drive 98 yards against Cleveland. Or recreating an even more iconic drive by an NFL Hall of Famer. I actually noticed a very cool trend in Madden 24 and NBA 2K24. They both have a career mode. And get this, when you play the career mode, they almost completely leave you alone. Now this is relative, obviously. In 2K, they still give you a bunch of bullshit to do, but you don't necessarily have to do all of the bullshit if you don't want to, and all of that bullshit feels pretty minuscule compared to the avalanche of bullshit in 2K23. Madden pretty much leaves you to your own devices after you get drafted, which I don't think was necessarily a conscious design choice. I think they're just really lazy at EA, but, well, it works. Now this is a very good trend for me because, God knows, I don't play career modes for the drama, and the histrionics and the TikToks and all the Josh Giddey subquests and all of that nonsense. I just want to play some ball, and you can save all the guff, thank you very much. But for about, 5 years there, they're trying to cram as much story into career modes as they could fit, not understanding that, hey you dumb assholes, the only drama I need is on the court, or the field, or the diamond, or at my divorce hearings. I like hitting dingers as much as the next guy, and that's certainly something you can do in MLB The Show. But even our beloved national pastime has to get mucked up in this mire of greed, microtransactions, and a marketplace, or whatever, I guess. Because that's what I asked for when I bought this game. I want it to be half me hitting home runs, and I want the other half to be a fucking eBay simulator. Because heck, it would be too simple to just get skill points and upgrade your player. Hell no. Now you have to buy some equipment that makes you better because guess what? It all ties into Diamond Dynasty and fuck you. Now you have to play it if you want to get better at Road to the Show. Okay, sorry, let me cool down for a second. I play career mode for one reason. to pretend I'm good at sports. And every time my momentum is interrupted by a really poorly done cutscene or an offer to buy an NFT of Charles Barkley throwing someone through a plate glass window or whatever, my immersion is shattered and I'm right back in freshman football getting my shit rocked by that left tackle from Holy Cross High School. Seriously, that guy was 14, allegedly, and he was already the size of DeBrickashaw Ferguson. By the way, let me be a kicker if I want to be a kicker. Career mode shouldn't be limited to a few positions. I know Madden can do it, because they used to do it. But now all the fundamentals have been replaced by bells and whistles. It's the epitome of putting lipstick on a pig. If you can manage to make a cool cutscene, like this one from the old PS2 Madden, by all means, go ahead. But I can't have Dion Waiters fumbling through his lines.
Who had thought
About what?
that a young buck like you could actually do the right thing and avoid getting his sorry
I had a
butt kicked
teammate
out the
hold me
game?
back. He told me to chill.
Or Jake from State Farm showing up to remind me that I'll never make enough money on YouTube to own a house. An interesting note about 2K's career mode is the VC, or virtual currency. An interesting note about 2K's career mode is that some guy got so fed up with the fact that you can't transfer virtual currency from one game to the next that he filed a class action lawsuit accusing the company of civil theft and unfair business practices. And no, I'm not kidding. I haven't been so invested in a lawsuit since that woman spilled McDonald's coffee all over or you know what. Or when Panera Bread finally has to pay for all those funerals of the people they iced with their lemonade. And one of the things in sports gaming that makes me want to drink 12 of those lemonades is usually the soundtrack. Now, we're really getting into, let's say, tricky territory here. So I'm going to proceed with a little bit of caution and just say this. While it's not my genre of choice, I don't mind some of that rip-roaring rap music the kids seem to enjoy so damn much.
I rip and I rhyme.
But 2K and Madden especially seem to be pretty much just rap and hip-hop. You know, just for once, I'd like to hear a Pavement song while I'm rebuilding the Broncos in Madden for the 59th time. Let's just get a couple songs with a guitar, please. I'm not asking for these games to sound like Kyle Rittenhouse's Spotify Wrapped. I just want a little variety once in a while. All of these things I've complained about are all secondary to gameplay and presentation. 2K is, in my opinion, the king of combining excellent gameplay with top-notch visuals, commentary, and an immersive broadcast package. It is immensely satisfying when you posterize someone and see a beautiful replay of your dunk while Kevin Harlan loses his shit on the mic.
LeBron James with no regard for human life.
MLB The Show isn't terribly impressive in terms of presentation, but their gameplay is still pretty rock solid, albeit not always top-notch. The commentary does get a little stale with the same two announcers calling all 162 games.
Control the tempo here at the plate. Time called again. Time called again. Not sure what's going on here. Well, this is just ridiculous now. And time called prior to the 0-1. And before the 0-1, he asks for time. This is brutal. No one has time for this. Just hit pause.
But 2K did a great job of switching that up by adding Brian Anderson into the virtual booth and rotating color announcers so every game feels a little bit different.
Now here's Curry. He's got 5. You know, what's amazing about LeBron is his total effect on the game.
In Madden, you get neither. The gameplay is unsatisfying thanks to their switch to the Frostbite engine in 2017, and I've heard enough of Brandon Gaudin and Charles Davis to last me several lifetimes. In 2K5, you had Chris Berman doing the halftime show, and now in Madden, I almost break my A button trying to skip through whatever they have. In Madden, there used to be a cutscene where you met the president after winning the Super Bowl. That's gone. There used to be cool player intros.
EA Sports, it's in the game.
Nope, not anymore. You used to have Tony Bruno's radio show every week.
It's time for the EA Radio Show with host Tony Bruno.
Bye! Bye-bye! Bye! Not my choice.
Let us briefly talk about gameplay. Basketball gameplay needs to feel fluid, and 2K does that. Baseball gameplay needs to be precise, which I think the show has mostly accomplished. Football gameplay needs to be a lot of things, and it's by far the hardest to replicate. You have to combine fluidity of motion, precision in the passing game, and some good old-fashioned grit in the trenches. 2K was the master at that, and I think they fine-tuned the best football gameplay of all time with All-Pro Football 2K8. It just didn't have enough around it to keep the ball rolling. Madden's gameplay feels either clunky or soulless or both, depending on what edition you're playing. They do a lot of things well, too, like giving us the passing meter or, I don't know, whatever. But I've never truly felt satisfied playing a Madden game since the original Xbox PS2 era. If Madden had to compete every year, it would likely be gone, much like NBA Live or MLB 2K, games that couldn't take the heat and had to get their ass out the kitchen. Or perhaps they would have found a way to innovate and improve and make a decent product out of themselves. You know, a lot of people ask me and say, if you had a time machine and you could go back and change any event in human history, what would it be? And I always tell them, I would rip up that exclusive rights deal between EA and the NFL. And only when that was done would I stop 9/11. And yes, I would bring Mark Wahlberg with me. If that deal never happened, we might have 2 good NFL games instead of 0. Or 3 or 4. Who knows? I do think there's some hope around the corner, especially with football. EA College Football returns in the summer of 2024, and you've got indie developers giving us new games every year. Retro Bowl, Legend Bowl, and even Maximum Football, which looks pretty cool if that ever sees the light of day. Which, I hope to God it does. Ultimately, I still play these games, and I'm critical because I love sports and I love video games, and the marriage of those two forces is 100 times stronger than that of my own. Thank you for watching, and thanks for having the time to listen to me whine, or whatever the fuck Green Day said.